Hey, what's going on? I am Larry C., and I started the Living Proof podcast. Some of you may or may not have heard. I was asked the other day why I didn't name my Facebook page the Living Proof Podcast with Larry C. And it's a funny story that I had no plans of doing a podcast. I wanted to do a morning radio comedy type deal with music and talking, phone calls, just, um, I'm originally from upstate New York, and, busting balls is a big part and has played a big part, in my life, drinking or not. It's always good to have fun, and josh with each other and stuff. But that's what I want to do. I want to do a morning show. And man, I had two brand build custom computers and refurbish laptops also on the side. I built two brand new desktops, and both of them stopped working when I tried to do the Islands Radio experiment that I wanted to do. I wanted local people to, like, I'd have my morning show, like 8 to 10, or, 8 to 12, whatever. And then I'd have the rest open slots for people of the islands. I wanted the local people to be able to go on there and rant, talk about a book, have a book club, talk about Bible, religion, church, rant about your neighbors, piss and moan, whatever you want. You could buy a slot, half hour slot, and you could have your own online radio segment. So there was a shortage of anybody willing to go on there and pay, obviously, for a slot, because I didn't even have anything going at that point. I didn't even have my show going. So after two computers just stopped working on me, I was like, all right, well, well, what's going on? And before I move on to this, I will say, I know a lot of people I'm a guest on my podcast do believe in God. Some don't believe in God. I myself, I believe in God, and I give him the credit for carrying me through my 30 years of addiction to where I am now in 15 months of sobriety. So my thought was, man, I guess God doesn't want me to have any fun, So, as I was, I was like, oh, whatever, man. I was like, man, screw it. I gave up for a little bit on the idea. And, it hit me. I saw this shirt that I bought. What was it? From 100 proof to living proof or something like that. And I was like, living proof, man, that'd be a cool name for like a show or something like a thing. And I was like, well, podcast. It's like, because it just so happened that somebody had mentioned that, it's like, oh, you're the living proof or something. When I saw the shirt or something, it's like, I'm living proof of there is, life after addiction for a lot of people. For some people don't make it out. And, that's just a sad truth. And, I thank God every day since I've been sober that he decided not to take me. And he let me walk through some serious fires in the 30 plus years of addiction. And you know what, that's what got me here today. And when somebody said that, the wheels started turning in my head, and it was like, living proof podcast, man, that'd be pretty cool. I was like, get other people to tell their stories, because in the past when I'd get in trouble, I would always, go and I would listen to people's stories, and I'd listen and I'd relate, and it just kind of made me feel better. It's like when you go to church and you leave church, how you feel a little bit better, about yourself and life and whatever. So I was like, man, that's a good idea. Like I wonder if I could get people to tell their stories on a podcast. And nobody knows me. Am I just going to go around asking, hey, you want to tell your story? I was like, well, so I gave it some thought, and I prayed about it. And I talked to some people, and I was like, well, if I want people to tell their story and give their ups and downs and their low points in life, I'm going to have to do the same thing. So I started writing out this stuff that I could remember from growing up to where I am now. And, I ended up, it took a while, and I had a whole list of stuff. I had a whole outline just taped right here so that I could read it and go down through. And man, I left out about half of it. My story was about an hour and a half, I think, at least. And man, I was reading it, and I'm not much of a public speaker. I don't like people, or I didn't like people. While I was drinking, I didn't really much like anything except drinking and drugs and music. That was my thing. So I went ahead and I stumbled through my story. And as I was reading, I'd get a little hiccup. I'd get nervous and this and that. I'd skip like paragraphs, I went through and I did my story. And I posted it. And it was within like 12 hours. I had somebody in like Manchester, somewhere, like something in England, sent me a message like, "Hey, can I share your story?" I was like, "Oh, dude, it's on YouTube, man. Freaking, it's public domain now. Share away." And I started getting messages and this and that, and I was like, "Man, this may pick up." So I just started, asking people that I saw on Facebook, that were, hey, I was like, "Hey, I've got 300 days. I've got 50 days. I've got, this and that." And I just started, I'd leave a comment on Facebook. I'd be like, "Hey, congratulations on your sober time. I've got, however many months, blah, blah, blah. And I just wonder if you'd like to tell your story on my podcast." And sure enough, man, I was like, "Oh, I got somebody." I was like, holy shit. And I fumbled through it. It took me forever. And, right when I had the idea of doing this podcast, I took that computer, both of those computers that I had, and I plugged each one of those things up, and they fired up and they ran better than they did. They're brand new machines. I've never had a problem with any of my builds, and like both of them, they picked up and they ran. And that's what I'm using right now. I'm like the first one that broke. Things were running no problem. So that right there told me I was on the right path. That it just reconfirmed. I'm like, all right, God, you want me to do this? Send me some people. And I've had some people. I just dropped the 7th episode. I've got a few people I'm talking to about some future episodes. So it was kind of a sign, like, this is where we should go. So further down the road, instead of changing the Facebook name from the Islands Radio to Living Proof, then starting up a radio station page, I'm just going to leave it at the Islands Radio. And, this is the Living Proof podcast is I would say the foundational brick, that will launch, I guess, the Islands Radio, if it takes off. And, once I get further down the road, maybe around episode 50 or something, maybe I'll open up the Islands Radio, and I'll just use the hour segments I'll take everybody's stories that I have recorded, and I'll just let them play. And, I've been playing with the music on the AI makers. I don't need music licenses for my own stuff because I made it. I'll upload my music, the stories that I've recorded. If we can get local bands or, people, whatever with music, and, I'll just fill it up with that, and in hopes that maybe in the future get sponsorships for this, and get people that would like to come on, that would like their own podcast and don't want to pay for, the streaming or this and that. You can record your episode right there, and you can send it to me, and I can upload it. Or probably what'll happen is I will you'll buy a time slot, and I'll give you the login, and that'll be, you upload, you work your own thing. I work in a hot ass kitchen. I do computer repair pretty much I just do custom gamer builds now. I refurbish laptops and sell them. I'm doing the podcast. I'm chasing down guests. I'm working on my sobriety, my relationship, and my life. So I've got too much stuff going on right now. I don't have time to upload your slot, but I will sell you a slot, and you can, manage it, and you can have your own online, radio segment. So in the future, that's what we're going for. But like right now,
You've got mail.
Yeah, hopefully it's not a bill. Should have muted the phone. Right now, what I'm looking for, like I said, are recovering alcoholics and addicts who have made it back from the edge and want to celebrate and share their milestones and their testimony of sobriety on my podcast. Or also in the key word there, or the family members. This is also a podcast for the family members who have walked through the fires and, watched and survived the hell of a loved one's addiction. Tell your, some, I have a few friends who have lost their children to addiction, sadly. And, I've talked to them about coming on and telling their story of their child, just to share their story. And, so that is what I'm looking for, the recovering addicts and alcoholics or the family members of one who would like to share their story. And, I believe, so like, well, why share your story? For one, you can break the stigma, show the world that recovery, what recovery looks like now, featuring just like, having everyday people like me, my, the podcast guests, just showing their struggles, their turning points, and mainly ending the podcast with their victories, showing you go through the shit in the darkness, and man, you struggle and you go through some hell, but when you come out like where I'm at now, man, 15 months, nobody would ever guess that, cigarettes, alcohol, again, just everything at one time, just cold turkey, just, lay it out. Just, I just got to the point where I was tired of it and I didn't want any more. So to be able to share that victory of where I came from and up through is miraculous. And that's what I want to hear. I want to hear everybody's stories because, like I said on my podcast, you may not relate to my story, man. You may not relate to this person, but you're going to hear somebody's story that you're going to relate to, and you're going to be like, man, wow, they went through all that. That's why I went through that, man. That's how my thoughts and, my actions were. I was just like them. And, well, shit, look at them now. They've got 6 months sober, 60 days sober, 3 days sober, man, a day. You go at and know that it is possible. Words could be the exact lifeline that a listener needs to hear today, man. And they make that turning point, and, your words, just you sharing your story, you could save somebody's life. And, that makes it all worth it right there for me. Because in my 30 plus years of addiction, I did a lot of bad shit. I hurt a lot of people, people I didn't know, my friends, family, loved ones, shit ain't no joke. So, trying to turn that around and do some positive and just help by getting all these different stories out there so that, man, if I can get 500 stories out there, somebody's got to relate to a certain way, or somebody's got to see something, and at least, if they're not ready to get sober yet, then they're not ready, but that seed is there and it's going to be there. They'll think about it. They may joke and laugh. Oh man, rehab's for quitters. I used to do that same shit. It's a different story when you're laying there on the bathroom floor, hugging the toilet, and you're puking and you're shitting, puking blood, and it's things change a lot after when you beat the hell out of your body, and there ain't much left. So things do change, people change. So that's what I'm here for. I record, we record and I post them at a later date. I try to post a podcast every 9 days. And this is just a highly supportive, completely judgment-free environment. You tell your story how you want. You tell how you did it. I'm not looking for, hey, don't swear on my podcast. Don't talk about God on my podcast. If you don't believe in God, don't talk about God. If you do, yeah, more mail, yay. If you do believe in God, go ahead. You tell your story. That's what I want. So, if you'd like to get involved and book your spot, feel free. The website, Living Proof, wlarryc.com, Facebook page, obviously the Islands Radio 31410. I have the email. You can shoot me an email. Most people need Facebook Messenger or whatever, but if you don't have Facebook, Living Proof Podcast, wlarryc@gmail.com. Just reach out if I'd love to hear your story. And I know a lot of other people would too. Just like I said, yeah, right, another bill. But like I said, it just threw me off where I was at. But either way, just if you'd like to tell your story, it's been amazing, the people that have reached out and the people that I hear are like, it's awesome to hear that, you're getting through to people. I swing by and I see some people here and there that, they're still active addiction, whatever. They're like, man, I'm proud of you, man. I give you a hug and this and that. I do the same shit back in the day. Hey, you're doing good. Keep it up. Yeah, that's not for me, but yeah, congrats on yours. If we just plant that seed and keep these stories coming, I think we'll take off, man. The analytics, like watching this from like day one, just through. I mean, I've got 7 episodes. We've been I've been at it for about 2 months, but man, watching those numbers, like when it was just the Islands Radio and I was talking about doing the morning radio, man, I had mostly friends would follow. Now I got people like I don't even know. They're just like following me. I'm like looking at them like, oh, they followed me off my post on this page or that page. And it's cool, man, because I went from 20 views, 30 views, and I mean I looked at my thing just a little while ago, in like 2 months. Things that like I had like 6,700 and something interactions, views, this and that, and for 2 months, man, I'll take it. I'll take it, man, because I'm further ahead than I thought I would ever even be. So I'm very thankful to God. I'm thankful for mom's prayers also. Hey, Ma. I'm just thankful for this sobriety, and I'm thankful that this has taken off the way that it has. It's crazy. I can't even tell you how I feel. But if you just, I'm gonna try and keep going, keep these stories coming. So help me help you. And I really appreciate the guests that I have had on here, the people that I'm talking to about being future guests. Man, I really appreciate you guys, and I couldn't do it without you. And I appreciate all you guys that are following me, that I see out on the streets, that I used to know. I really appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And hey, for all you guys that I don't know, that are like, hey, man, I think what you're doing is really cool. And, you're throwing me some good vibes. I really appreciate that. And I just appreciate everybody that's involved in this so far, and I appreciate everybody that's gonna be involved in this. I just really, man, I couldn't do it without you, and I really appreciate you. And man, life is good. Stay sober and keep your head up.